guys? Welcome to another episode of Ask Alex, where this is the show where I bring to you all the different movie topics and things that are going on in Hollywood. I'm your host, Alex Hampton, and today we got a jam-packed show today, a lot of stuff to unpack. And if you want your question on this show, it's very simple. All you have to do is just send me an email at static145910@gmail.com, or you can send me a tweet at Mr. Alex Hampton, or you can leave a comment under my Instagram under Mr. Alex Hampton as well. There's a lot of questions that I got over the weekend because Avengers basically blew up. And let's just go ahead and jump into the first question of the day. And the first question comes from a George Taylor, and he writes, "Hey Alex, Avengers Endgame has now broken the weekend box office record by making $350 million, and it's the first movie to make $1.2 billion worldwide. Does this change your opinion about Lion King making more money than Endgame?" Well, thank you for your question, George. So, this past weekend, it was reported by Variety, Deadline, and a whole lot of other different movie websites that the box office count of this weekend of Avengers Endgame, domestically, it made $350 million just this weekend. It made $350 million within the U.S., right? And worldwide, it made over $1.2 billion. Now, last week's show, I said that I think that Lion King, since it is a timeless film, and I stand by what I say, it is a timeless film, it is a very heavy nostalgia film, that we would get probably a better return in Lion King than we would Avengers Endgame. I said that maybe Lion King will outperform Endgame. I saw Avengers Endgame, and by the way, my review for Avengers Endgame will drop later on today. I will have to say this. After watching the movie and experience everything that I've experienced in that movie and seeing how they told that story, I am not surprised that it made $350 million domestically and $1.2 billion within the last 4 days worldwide. I have to say that this movie, I don't think anything's going to catch this movie. I don't think so. So I have to recant what I said last week, because this movie, when you see this movie, and I'll put this in my review of the movie, but when you see this movie, my God, they go to extreme lengths in this movie. Without spoiling anything, this movie is a phenomenon, and it is something that the fans have been asking and wanting for. So this outcome of making this amount of money is not surprising to me. There are a lot of fans and families and people who came out in droves to see this movie. I know people who were on vacation. I live in Orlando, which is a tourist city, right? There are people who are on vacation just to go to the Disney theater to see this movie. Just to come here to see the movie. So the movie is very, very real. Very, very prevalent in our society. So, man, I think next weekend, I don't know if the drop-off will be too big. I mean, I know it will be big, but I don't know if it will be too big, because, like I said, the buzz for this movie has been going and going and going and going. So I think this movie is going to be our first Marvel movie to hit $3 billion. This was the first Marvel movie that hit $1.2 billion in a weekend. This was our first Marvel movie that went over $350 million in its first opening weekend. So I'm sorry, but this movie is the best epic thriller movie you will ever see in 2019. If this movie would have came out towards the end of the year, this would have been perfect, and it still would have performed the way it performed. But anyway, this movie was amazing. I do think that Lion King won't come close. And I'll say this: Lion King, in a sense, is a nostalgia film that will bring a lot of box office dollars to the box office. But however, I don't think the hype and the fandom of this movie is not the same. It's not like Lion King can't even compare the height of this movie, Avengers Endgame. This movie is going to make probably $3 billion. I think it's going to make about $3 billion. But thank you for your question, George. Now I'm going to jump into my next question, which comes from a Troy Barnes, and he writes, "Hey Alex, is Dark Phoenix going to be as bad as the media is making it to be?" Well, thank you for your question, Troy. I'm going to be honest with you. I've said on this show and other shows that I'm not necessarily excited for it. The trailers haven't got me excited for it, and I know a couple of people who have worked on the project. I don't know them personally, but I've heard them talk about the project, and I will say this: for the most part, it's not. I don't believe it's going to be a good movie. And let me just dispel the rumors. This has nothing to do with the fact that the Disney-Fox merger came together. That's not the reason why this movie is bad. The reason why this movie is bad is because there's a lot of misdirection. I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen what's going on, but there are a lot of actors, a part of the production, who are basically not pleased of how their characters are being portrayed, nor are they pleased about how this story is being told. And also, there are a lot of producers and the director are probably not as happy of how this movie is going to turn out. Now, that's not to say it's going to fail. There are people like my wife who wants to see it. There are people who are hardcore X-Men fans who are interested in seeing what this movie is going to be. But, I think that this movie probably won't even crack $50 million on the opening box office, if I'm being honest, because it has so much drama and stuff attached to this film. So, to answer your question, is it going to be bad? I don't know. I haven't seen the film, but if I'm being 100% honest, excuse me, I don't think that it's going to be a film that most people are looking forward to. So thank you for your question. Let's hop into the next question of the day, which comes from a Nicole Watkins. And she writes, "Hey Alex, what are your thoughts about the Gemini Man trailer?" All right, well, thank you for your question, Nicole. So, what Nicole's referring to, about a few days ago, maybe about a week ago, the Gemini trailer came out. It stars Will Smith, and it's basically an older Will Smith fighting against a younger version of himself, where they're both trained killers, and the younger version is hunting him. And to give you my initial thoughts of what I thought about the trailer, I thought the pacing of the trailer looked good. Some of the action that they released in the trailer was actually pretty cool. For the most part, Will Smith's characters in those movies, they look cool, but I'm not going to lie to you, that younger version of Will Smith doesn't seem real. I think it doesn't seem authentic to me. It doesn't, like, to me it looks like you can tell that this is Will Smith CGI'd and Will Smith with a lot of makeup on him. So I don't believe in, it doesn't look real to me, the younger version of him, but I like the concept of he's basically fighting himself to get to whatever he needs to get to. So the concept is pretty dope, the pacing of it is pretty dope, but the younger version of Will Smith fighting older version of Will Smith, again, that's a great concept, but personally I think the CGI and the way young Will Smith looks doesn't seem real to me. It looks fake. And I guess because, when you put Will Smith in any movie, Will Smith normally looks young for his age. He's in shape. He looks like he's that guy. So I'm interested. I'm going to go definitely see the movie, but I don't think it's mind-blowing, if I'm being 100% honest. So thank you for your question, Nicole. And now we're going to come to the final question of the day. Comes from a J. Ramsey, and she writes, "Hey Alex, what are your thoughts about Steven Spielberg's recent comments about Netflix movies being considered for the Oscars?" Well, thank you for your question, Jay. So what Jay is referring to about, actually this has been going on for about a year now, but recently, a few months ago, Steven Spielberg said that he believed that Netflix, in a sense, I'm just paraphrasing, Netflix, in a sense, was not playing by the rules in regards to having their movies contested for the Oscars. Very recently, like a week ago, he basically walked back that statement and did some damage control in terms of trying to basically cover up what he said before. Initially, Steven Spielberg was not a big fan of Netflix movies being a movie considered for Oscars because he considered them as TV movies. And anybody who uses Netflix knows that most of their content on Netflix is original, and you don't have to pay to go to a movie theater to watch it. You can just watch it in the comfort of your own home. Now, here's my take on this as a filmmaker, right? To a degree, I can kind of understand where he's coming from, because here's the thing. most movies have to literally, like, okay, I put it to you like this. Most movie studios, when they are making a movie, when they put it out in theaters, they're basically giving their movies to the theaters, to multiple screenings of the theaters, and hoping that they get contested for Oscars depending on the type of movie it is, right? They are licensed by the theater chains to put out their own movies and make money off their movies. So that's where they make money off their box office. They make money, I believe they make money on some concessions. They also make money on whatever merch that they sell in regards of the movie, right? So movies, since the beginning of time, in a sense, movies, in order for you to be considered in the Oscars, you had to show your movie. If you're a studio or independent filmmaker, you would have to show your movie in Los Angeles, one movie at least for 3 weeks, or you would have to show it in New York for at least 3 weeks. That are the parameters to get your movie into the Oscars. So say, for instance, if I make a movie and I'm not like signed to Netflix or any studio, in order for my movie to be considered an Oscar, I would have to put it in a theater in Los Angeles for at least 3 weeks, and another theater in New York for at least 3 weeks as well, in order for it to be considered as an Oscar. Now, with that being said, in regards to it being considered for Oscars, I disagree with Steven Spielberg when he says that Netflix movies are TV movies and all this other stuff. Here's the thing, and this is becoming prevalent in movie studios and streaming services. At the end of the day, both sides want to make money. As an up-and-coming filmmaker like myself, streaming services are giving more opportunities to people like me than they are movie studios. Now, that is a small margin. It is. So don't think because you can make films that Netflix or Hulu or whatever are going to be so willing to get you to direct one of their projects or your own project for that streaming service. That's not necessarily the case. You have more of a chance doing that in streaming services than you do film studios. It's kind of unfair to a degree, because for him to say that, Steven Spielberg is coming from a place of privilege. Okay, Steven Spielberg can make a movie anywhere and it's still going to make money. It doesn't matter. Just because his name is attached to it, he's going to make money off of whatever film that he puts out, right? Most directors and filmmakers don't have that opportunity like he does. Now, what Netflix is doing, which they're obeying by the rules, they're not licensing out their movies to theaters. What they're doing, they're renting out theaters and saying, hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars to rent out your theater in Los Angeles to show one of my Netflix movies here, and you also get a bigger percentage of the box office, and we take whatever we make from the sales of the movie to our company. They're kind of finessing the system, where that's where I kind of agree with Steven Spielberg to a degree, but they are abiding by the rules. They are so for instance, Roma was in theaters for 3 weeks, and it was also on Netflix. Just like it was also in theaters in New York as well. So what Steven's saying is that like most filmmakers and studios, their movies are in the theater for no more than a month or two. Your Netflix is putting their movies out for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And I can kind of understand what he's saying, but the filmmaker in me is saying, listen, I, as a creative, I want to make sure that I get my content out there. Do I think my film should be considered as Oscars if I make it that way? Yes. But at the same time, as a filmmaker, I got to take the opportunities as I get them. As filmmakers today don't get the same opportunities from studios like they do from streaming services. That's why we get a lot of original content from like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, because they are more than willing to explore those narratives. Like other studios are not willing to do that. So that's my take on his comments. I know I spent a little bit on his comments, but I want to thank you guys for watching this jam-packed episode of Ask Alex. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on all my various social medias, and as always, thank you guys for watching this video, and you guys have a blessed day. Thank you guys for watching this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page to get more exclusive content coming from my YouTube channel. And if you want to watch my previous videos, go ahead and click on this video up here or this video down here, where you get to see more exclusive content coming from my channel. Thank you guys for watching this video, and you guys have a blessed day.